Alright, I think we're live. Dropped my stylus out of the phone. Okay. I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to come in. I'm starting a little late and I'm hoping that everyone got the message I posted earlier that I would be coming on at 3 because I had a conflict and I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to go into that class and then give me a little bit of time to kind of catch my breath again before coming live. But I want to continue the discussion that we started yesterday with fibromyalgia. And yesterday I actually wanted to talk about it a little bit, but I completely forgot. And then I thought maybe I forgot for a reason. There's a reason why that happened. And that way it'll give us a chance today to talk a little bit more and in a little bit more detail than we did yesterday. As you're coming in, just please go ahead and say hello. We're going to be talking about fibromyalgia again today, but in the connection with electromagnetic frequencies and electromagnetic hypersensitivity issues that a lot of people may not necessarily connect to fibromyalgia. So that's where the discussion is going to go today, because I think some people who've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, there may not necessarily be, hi Catherine, there may not necessarily be a reason as to why they developed fibromyalgia in the first place, and there's now how to put this, a lot of doctors don't really believe that hypersensitivity to electromagnetic frequencies is a real thing. But the thing is, you can't really negate what people are feeling or what they're experiencing. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the fibromyalgia and the connection, the possible connection to electromagnetic frequency and the hypersensitivity. If you didn't see yesterday's video, you may want to go back to watch that one. There was a lot of gave a lot of information about how to cope with fibromyalgia issues and the natural remedies, and I mentioned things, different herbs and essential oils. So you might want to go back. Today is day 29 of Create with Gina. So you'll look for day 28 of the hashtag Create with Gina, and you'll find that particular video dealing with fibromyalgia in a lot more detail. But today we wanted to talk about the EMF, what electromagnetic frequencies, and EHS, which is electromagnetic hypersensitivity concerns, which I know a lot of people do have, but they're not necessarily met with much concerns because, well, a lot of people just don't believe that it's just something that's being made up. All right, let me just go ahead and turn this on. All right, so I'm going to read something that came directly from, this is from the World Health Organization, and basically says, electromagnetic fields represent one of the most common and fastest growing environmental influences about which anxiety and speculation is spreading. The thing is, this is only going to increase. We're now in the age of the 5G, and I'll bring that up a little bit more later on, but that's where we are, right? And things are only going to get worse. And if you know that you have these hypersensitive issues to EMF, what are you going to do about it? And do you even realize that the electromagnetic frequencies are bothering you in the first place? Because a lot of people don't really know that it's affecting them, because it affects everyone on a slightly different level. Everyone reacts differently to EMF frequencies, but everybody does have an effect. That's the thing. All right, so the thing is, one can't see. If you try to explain to someone what's going on with you, they cannot see what's happening to you. They can see your reaction to it, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit. For example, a lot of people with um, electromagnetic hypersensitivity issues may have feel like creepy crawly all over their skin, and I can tell you that because that's one of the symptoms that I have regularly, and that's only developed more recently. When my sister and I were driving one day, and I looked at her and I said, that tower wasn't there maybe 5 days ago, a week ago. And then as we continued driving, there was another new tower that we saw, and then there was another one. So these towers seemingly were popping up overnight. And I said to her, that explains a lot, because recently it just seemed like I have been on pins and needles. My skin has been literally like there are things crawling all over it. And I just felt like there were like pins and needles throughout my entire body. And up until recently, I've had those things under control. But 5G, like I mentioned earlier on, I believe this 5G is extremely powerful and it's going to affect us in ways you can't imagine. And if you already have hypersensitivity issues to electromagnetic frequencies, and you see that you've gotten worse, chances are it's related to this new technology that they've recently released. And yes, it has been released, called 5G. So, but like I said, doctors aren't necessarily going to believe that you're allergic to electromagnetic frequencies, because it really isn't a disease as such. There are symptoms, and you're not the only one. I can send you links to lots of different videos that do document, people's experiences with this. And there's also a movie I'm going to send you. I was supposed to write the link down. I totally forgot. It is on Netflix, and I will give you the name. So if you do have a Netflix account, my daughter actually sent this to me, I want to say maybe 8 months ago, and she says, "Mom, you have got to watch this." And I watched it, and it just blew my mind, because I didn't realize, I knew that people had sensitivity issues to electromagnetic frequencies, but I had no idea that there were people who had sensitivity issues on this scale. So I'm going to post the link, the name of the movie, and I know that it's on Netflix. I'm hoping that it's still there so that you can go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so back to people who do have these kind of sensitivity issues. You've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, because a lot of the symptoms for fibromyalgia are identical to what people who have these hypersensitivity issues to EMF, the symptoms are virtually the same. So which is why I wanted to talk about them, because someone yesterday, the day before yesterday, in another live, did ask or kind of hinted at fibromyalgia being connected to other things, and if we really knew what the origin of fibromyalgia was. And no one really knows, not even doctors, when they diagnose you with fibromyalgia. They really don't know what the origin of it is, right? So what I'm going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about the symptoms, which I said are very similar to for people who have already been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I'm going to also talk about different ways that you can kind of alleviate some of the EMF frequency radiation using things like plants, and I made some notes, different natural ways. We're using plants, with earthing, nature walks, and I'm going to ask that you have an open mind about this, because I'm going to talk a little bit about crystals as well, and how certain crystals can also help to block the EMF radiation that emanates from your technologies and stuff. I'm also going to give you some hints on how to work safely with your technology if you do have these kind of sensitivity issues. And even if you don't have the sensitivity issues, you are being affected you are being affected on a cellular level. You may not necessarily feel it. The thing is, with radiation, it gradually builds up in your body, and then voila, one day, you know, you start to have these headaches, or you start to have the creepy crawly feelings on your body. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can alleviate these particular symptoms. All right, so EHS, which is electromagnetic hypersensitivity issue, is characterized as a condition that has a range of symptoms that sufferers attribute to exposure to magnetic fields, or to electromagnetic fields. Now, what you need to remember is your body has its own electromagnetic field, and your body's electromagnetic field is being influenced by all of the EMF, all of the electromagnetic fields that you're being bombarded with. So right there alone, you are being affected by the EMF radiation that's around you, because your own magnetic field is being disrupted continuously. Hello, Brian. All right, so different things that give out radiation or the electromagnetic frequencies. You have your computers, and I have a computer right here. I've got my phone that I'm doing the live on right now. So you have your computers, you got your mobile phones, televisions, your smart televisions, cell phone towers, even certain light bulbs. There are certain bulbs that I am extremely sensitive to, and I cannot have them in the ceiling. So those had to be removed, and then I put up only the LED bulbs, and so far those are not affecting me. But if you go into a certain room and you find that you develop certain symptoms, check and see what kind of light bulbs are being used, and you might find that certain light bulbs also affect you. So take a look at light bulbs, your computers, mobile phones, smart TVs, even the washing machine. Washing machines give off certain radiation when it's in use. So whenever you're using your washing machine, you may want to place yourself in another area away from your washing machine, just to be safe. And I'm going to give more tips later on. So symptoms. Like I said, the symptoms that you may have from the electromagnetic hypersensitivity are very, very similar or almost identical to the ones that you may have if you've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. One of those is nausea, headaches, and I mentioned headaches yesterday. A few people that I know have the electromagnetic hypersensitivity get severe headaches if they don't protect themselves whenever they're working with different electronics. And there are also people who've had to move into areas where the cell phones are basically almost non-existent, and limit themselves as to how much technology that they work on. Some people have ended up losing their jobs because they cannot be around the technology. And if technology is a part of your life and part of your job, and all of a sudden you're being affected by the very things that you're supposed to be working with, then yeah, you don't have a job anymore, right? Other symptoms include short-term memory being affected. You're not able to concentrate. Photosensitivity. You might go outside and find that the sun bothers you. Tinnitus. That's a huge one, and I was diagnosed with tinnitus, I believe, I want to say maybe 7 years ago, and gradually over the years I've had some hearing loss. I have what's called bilateral tinnitus, so it happens in both ears. Some people have it in one or the other. I happen to have it in both, so I'm kind of balanced, but more of the hearing loss that occurs with me is here. So when I'm speaking to people, I tend to have this side kind of focus on the person that I'm talking to, right? Because since the hearing loss is in the left ear. But tinnitus is huge for people who have electromagnetic hypersensitivity concerns. You might find also that you develop like a foggy brain. I don't know exactly how to put that except foggy brain. So that's another symptom. And the one I mentioned earlier with having the creepy crawlies all over you. Occasionally you might see me do like this on my skin, and it's because that's one of the symptoms that I have. Is I constantly feel like there's electricity pulsing through my body. And there are, if you look outside right now, there's a cell tower maybe 3/4 of a mile away, if that much. And then there have been numerous towers that have been put up over the last month. So that is one of the things that I'm gradually trying to get under control again. I had it under control over the last few years, but with the introduction of the new 5G technology, it's something I'm having to kind of develop a greater brain so that I can figure out how exactly am I going to control the symptoms, because I'm going to have to live in this world of 5G. The thing is, technology is going to spread everywhere, and there are very few places on this planet right now that we can go to where you're not being bombarded by technology, or to be able to minimize how much you're affected by technology, right? Is any of this stuff making sense so far? I'm not a scientist. I'm trying to speak in very layman terms. So I'm hoping that this is getting across clearly. All right, so those are some of the symptoms, and I would love for you to go back and watch yesterday's video on fibromyalgia, and you can kind of correlate the symptoms that I'm describing now and the ones that I described. They're virtually identical. What I'm trying to explain is that no doctor knows exactly how fibromyalgia starts, yet no doctor really wants to say, yes, electromagnetic hypersensitivity does exist. But what I can tell you is this: if you do experience these, do not give up and say, okay, well, it must be all in my head, because it is not in your head. You know your body, you know how you're feeling. Whether there be a diagnosis for it or not, I'm going to try to give you a few ways on how to alleviate it, and also guide you to some other videos that you can watch for people who are experiencing the same thing. Okay? All right, so let me see. Yes. Here's a question for you. You get a new phone, right? It comes in this lovely little box. You pull out the phone, you do all of your whatever you need to do to get it started, and you kind of put it away. But inside of that box, there's a little user's manual. How many of you have ever read the fine print in your user's manual that says your phone should not be within an inch of your body? It should not be within an inch of your body, which means that your cell phone should be at least an inch away from you whenever you have it. But if you pick up your cell phone, it's in your hand, right? That's not an inch. A lot of people, and I've seen this, and this bothers me so much. I've seen women especially take their cell phone and stick it into their bra. That is not an inch away from you. That is touching some very sensitive areas, literally pulsing that radiation into your body. I've also seen men and women take it and tuck it into their back pockets. And I've read, don't quote me on this, but I've read some articles that where doctors are talking about an increase in cancer that appears on the buttocks, and it's usually in the place where people have been putting their cell phones. So you walk around with your cell phone tucked in your pocket, in your back pocket, and you're literally just pulsing that radiation into your body, right? Even though there is a warning in the manual that your cell phone should not be within an inch of your body, right? So how are we expected to heal from these particular things that that we might be experiencing. I'm going to give you some tips. Number one, you have to trust your intuition. You have to trust, regardless of who believes you when you try to explain that, yes, I'm affected by electromagnetic frequencies. Trust your opinion, or trust your intuition that it is happening, and then take steps to minimize how you're going to be affected by it. You have to also be open to support and wisdom from other people who might also be going through it, which is why I said I will post some videos where other people have described their experiences with this. I did not, and I do not have it on a magnitude that some of these people are going to describe, and you may not necessarily also. Some of you might, though, and these particular videos might help you. My worst symptoms tend to be just the creepy crawly that I'm experiencing right now. Just, occasionally feels like almost like lightning passing through, and not painful, just very light tingling. Occasionally I'll have it on my face, and then I'll also have it on my skin. But it's not major. It's not something that I curl up in the corner and cry about. But there are people who, I'm going to post some of those videos so that you can watch and hopefully learn from their experience, and they'll also have ways of how they mitigate the radiation effects on them as well. This one is huge. It's not impossible to do, but I know it's hard for most people, and that is to take a break from electronics. Completely give up electronics for 3 weeks, a month, and to kind of give your body a chance to heal. I know it's like almost asking for the impossible, because we live in a day and age, especially now when we're all connected by our electronics. If I want to see my daughter, I use my phone. We get onto the Duo app, or we actually have a group one where I can see my son, my granddaughter, and my daughter at the same time, and that's great. We use our phones right now to connect with family members. I have Catherine, you're on here, and that's one of the ways that we connect, because you're in the Cayman Islands, I'm here, and I have majority of my family members are in the Cayman Islands or in Jamaica. So technology right now is how we connect. So by me saying take a break from electronics, we literally would go into isolation, right? I know some people are complaining about feeling isolated right now, but to be able to heal completely from the EMF radiation, we would literally have to take a break completely from electronics. It's not impossible to do. You can, if you absolutely have to be around your electronics, there are ways of mitigating the radiation, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit as well. And why I said that was because the radiation tends to build up. I know I mentioned earlier that people who don't have any symptoms now may develop them later on, and that's because radiation gradually builds up in your body. So even though you said, well, it's not bothering me, yes, there are some people out there who may have it really bad, but it's not affecting me. It is. You just don't feel it right now. And if you don't feel it right now, that's fine, but you should still start to take steps to alleviate what is actually happening to, the unseen forces that are bombarding you. Okay? There are ways that you can adapt your home to reduce the effects of the EMF radiation on your body. One of this is to connect your laptop, rather than have Wi-Fi, connect your laptop to your internet box using an Ethernet cable. And that way you're not using the wireless, because the wireless is what creates even more radiation. So if you can have an Ethernet cable connect your laptop to your internet box that way, that will kind of help to mitigate some of the radiation. All right, so, and as far as your phone is concerned, you can put your phone on airplane mode, whenever you don't need to be doing the texting back and forth, which is probably hard, I know, but if you're not, whenever you're not needing your phone to be in that particular mode, as in, you're texting back and forth and you need to be able to send and receive, put your phone on airplane mode. So before you go to bed at night, if it's possible, put your phone on airplane mode, or put your phone in a completely separate area from where you sleep. All of your electronics actually, and that's one of the things I did not write down, all of your electronics should be somewhere away from where you sleep. And for some people that's hard to do. For some people that's really easy. Prior to moving here with my sister, we would shut off our internet box every night at a certain time. So during the night as we slept, we would not be bombarded by all of that, the Wi-Fi, right? So if you're able to do that, that's another suggestion. Just completely shut down your Wi-Fi system at night while you sleep. I know with this one, we don't have a landline, but I know people who have installed a landline and had a corded phone rather than one of those wireless phones that you can walk around. I know it's going back to my days when I was growing up and we were all attached to the phone that had a cord and we couldn't really go anywhere. But that is so much safer than having a wireless phone. So if you can install a landline that has a corded phone and then use that to make all of the calls that you need to make, rather than using your cell phone for that. I'm hoping that all of this stuff is making sense and helping someone. All right. When you're working with your laptop, I know there are a lot of people that like to have their laptops sitting on their legs, but you're literally pumping that radiation from your laptop into your legs. So one tip is to either put your laptop on a table and connect have a keyboard that is connected to your laptop using a cord. You don't want to have a wireless keyboard because again, we're trying to get rid of the wireless here. So have a cord that connects to your laptop, which is now sitting on a table, and be as far away from it as is possible. So that whatever the length of that cord is, and that will certainly help. If you have to have your laptop sitting on your legs, I recommend having a pillow that is at least 4 to 6 inches thick, sitting on your leg, and then you put your laptop on top of that, rather than having your laptop sitting directly onto your legs. Or even if you're wearing clothing, have at least 4 to 6 inches in between, so that your laptop sits on top of that, so it's not going directly into your skin. All right, so distance away from the body is what we're going for. You can also purchase a protective shield that can go over the monitor for your laptop that will kind of help to block the EMF radiation that's coming from it as well. So you can do that one. When you're trying to heal your body from all of the EMF frequencies, the EMF radiation, what you want to do is you want to work on a physical level, an emotional level, and as well as a spiritual level. Like I said, with the physical, you know what your body is experiencing. You can say that to the doctors; they may not necessarily believe you, but you know what you're feeling. You know what you're experiencing. So you have to trust your intuition around that and take the necessary precautions, right? Sometimes it does affect you emotionally because nobody believes you and they think that this is all in your head, and soon after a while you're going to start to believe that yourself. But trust your gut, trust your intuition, that you know what your body is supposed to feel like, you know how your body is feeling, and it doesn't matter what anyone says, whether they believe you or not, you do what is necessary to heal yourself. If that means that you go to a party after all of this craziness is over, you go to a party and you walk in and everybody has their cell phones out, which they probably shouldn't at this point because that's what we've been using to connect, but I digress. you go to a party and everybody has their cell phones out, and you walk in and all of a sudden you just start to feel a certain way, and you decide to leave, but yet everybody is saying, no, where are you going? Oh, you're crazy. You shouldn't be. This stuff is not bothering you. That's really not what's causing the issues. Trust your intuition, trust your gut, and go with it. Don't stay in a situation where you know that certain technologies are what's affecting you. Hope that makes sense. So you don't let the physical part, start to interfere with you kind of second guessing yourself. The spiritual part, I'm going to talk about that a little bit as we, a little bit more later on. All right, so actually, let me talk about it now. When it comes to the emotional part, if you have to get a psychiatrist or a psychologist to talk to, please do. A lot of the times, they actually believe you a lot more than the medical doctors do. I think I remember mentioning that I sought a psychiatrist after I started to see angels, and I thought I was losing my mind. And my psychiatrist actually said, there's nothing wrong with your head. That is actually a good thing that you're able to see into the spirit realm. So psychologists and psychiatrists, they actually will believe you a lot more than, because with medical doctors, I think a lot of the times, if they don't see the physical manifestation of a particular disease, then it doesn't exist. And with EMF radiation, hi David, with the EMF radiation, if they can't see what's physically happening to you, then you don't have an illness. And it's like that with so many other illnesses as well, right? So if they can't see a physical manifestation of what you're complaining about, then chances are they're not going to believe, and they're going to say it's all in your head. So trust your gut on that one. One of the best things to have on your team, or best persons to have on your team, in addition to your psychologist, if you're going through this, is a nutritionist. Because like I mentioned yesterday, food plays a huge role in how your body reacts to the EMF radiation. So if you feed your body right, give your body the nutrition that it needs, and that will help to bombard the radiation that's coming into it. Will help to negate the radiation that's coming into your body. Okay, so food is a huge thing. Get connected spiritually. I said I was going to come back to this. If you have to, get yourself a spiritual life coach. If you're not, if you don't consider yourself to be a Christian and you don't have a church that you go to regularly, or a pastor that you can talk to, or someone in the church that you're connected to, then we're having a little bit of internet connection, speaking of, then get yourself a spiritual life coach that you can talk to about this, and they will also help. So I mentioned the physical, the emotional, the spiritual. Let me turn down my phone. I totally forgot to silence, letting me do that. All right, so spiritual level, make sure that you're healing yourself on all of those levels. All right, I did mention that I wanted you to keep an open mind on your healing journey, because there are some things that you may find actually work for you that you would never have thought of. And I'm going to talk about those right now. All right, I think I mentioned all of those already. Okay, so one of the critical things, I mentioned that your body does have an electromagnetic field. And your electromagnetic field is the electromagnetic field of the earth, right? We are connected to the earth. One of the best things you can do is 20-30 minutes, at least 30 minutes I would recommend, is going outside, standing on the bare ground, bare feet, for at least 30 minutes. And that just helps to reconnect, to realign your electromagnetic field to the electromagnetic field of the earth. You're being bombarded by all of these other electromagnetic frequencies, the one coming from the laptop, the one coming from the phone, the one coming from the TV. So you want to, at least once a day, go back and go outside and stand on the ground, not on the concrete, Take off your shoes, take off your socks, and stand on dirt, on grass, for at least 30 minutes. It's called earthing, but it's literally just standing on the ground for about, I mean, like regular grass, dirt, not anything that's been, that's been covered up by man, like a concrete area. Find a spot where there's just grass or dirt and stand there for at least 30 minutes and get your body realigned. That actually helps to heal your electromagnetic field as well. Another way you can do this is just go on a nature walk. And I know right now it's hard because the parks are closed and we're pretty much told to stay indoors. But if you can go outside and stand under a tree for 30 minutes, that helps. And as often as you can, get out into nature, walk among nature, walk under the trees. I know there's a fancy term that the Japanese have brought up, or foresting, I think is what it's called. Just get out into nature, and that helps to alleviate some of the electromagnetic frequency radiation as well. Hi, Rosanna. So the other thing is using essential oils. And I mentioned a lot of essential oils yesterday for people who are suffering from fibromyalgia. And some of those I'll also mention today, but I'm going to mention a few more and tell you exactly why you should add those in. So let me just flip over real quickly. I mentioned this one yesterday. This one is rosemary. And rosemary is called the herb of remembrance. That Shakespeare referred to it as the herb of remembrance in his play called Hamlet. But rosemary has been used for a very long time as an herb for helping you to remember. My youngest son, actually has a blend of rosemary, basil, clary sage, and a few other oils that he works with whenever he's studying something. We put it onto his wrist. We also put some on the tabletop. And as he's working, he's inhaling the scents of those oils, and it actually helps him to remember the stuff whenever he has to, give it back in a test or something, right? So rosemary is really good for this, but it's good for pain as well. But rosemary also helps to block the radiation. That's why I mention it here. Frankincense and myrrh, you might remember those from the Bible. Those were two of the gifts that were given to the baby Jesus. So those are also those are not necessarily, those are resins, but they do make the essential oils from frankincense and myrrh. Lemon balm, I mentioned yesterday as well, that as being a nervine. Now, a lot of this, the issues that you experience from the electromagnetic frequencies, they do affect you. That tingly feeling that you get, those are your nerves, right? And so you want to use a lot of the essential oils and herbs that are considered to be nervines, and lemon balm is one of those. Lavender is another. Basil, I just mentioned as well. Rosemary and basil together is really good for focus and concentration, but also for electromagnetic frequency hypersensitivity. Blue tansy is another one. Blue tansy is also considered to be an oil for intuition, for enhancing your intuition, but also really good for blocking radiation. And you can do your own research into these essential oils yourself as well, because I could literally spend I could spend hours talking about each of the essential oils on their own, right? So, and then chamomile I also mentioned yesterday as being very calming, very soothing. So you could easily make an essential oil blend from any of these. And what I'll do is I'll give you a link, which is also in the video that I posted yesterday. But I'll give you a link to where you can purchase the essential oils from if you want to start working with a few of these. Another way you can help to alleviate the effects of electromagnetic radiation is simply by filling your house with plants. The snake plant is a really good one because that actually puts out oxygen as it is absorbing the radiation, and help, it absorbs the radiation. So if you go into my room right now, you'll find a nice big one in there. And I'm in the process of putting a few more throughout the apartment as well. Different cacti, those are also really good for helping to alleviate the effects of the electromagnetic frequency radiation. Ferns, I'm sure you've seen ferns. If you've grown up with family members who had huge pots of ferns, and they looked pretty, but they also do a really good job. So ferns are really good to have in your home. The spider plant is another one. The rubber plant, I've seen huge rubber plants on the outside, but a lot of people also grow them in pots indoors, and it's very easy to grow in a pot as well. So having a rubber plant, I'm giving you several examples. The Areca or Areca palm is another really good one to have as a house plant. Aloe vera, that one, and I'm sure you're familiar with aloe vera. And then sunflowers. Well, sunflowers don't necessarily grow well indoors unless you have a really sunny spot, because it really needs the sun. But if you have a spot where you can grow sunflowers, then do. So snake plant, cacti, ferns, spider plant, rubber plant, the Areca palm, aloe vera, and sunflowers. Those are really good examples of plants that you can have in your home to help to alleviate the electromagnetic frequencies. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, and this one is a little bit controversial, a little bit woo-woo, if I can use that term, but it's something that I have worked with over the last few years, and I know that it actually helps to how I don't know. I'm not a physicist, I'm not a geophysicist, I'm not any of those, but it's something that I've been working with, and I fully believe that it does help. You can always test it out for yourself, and that's crystals. And I've always been fascinated with crystals from the time I was a little girl. I always loved these pretty different colored rocks, right? But it wasn't until I got older that I started hearing about all of the different properties of different crystals and what each of them are supposed to be able to do. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Don't shut me out just yet. You have an open mind, and you can always do your own research on this. I'm not saying that you have to do it. I'm just throwing out another one of the things that actually is helping me and one of the modalities that I'm working with. Okay, I'm not saying that it's something that you have to do. And I have a few of those. Well, I did mention let me go back a little bit. Permission. I mentioned essential oils earlier. This is one particular one that I work with on a daily basis, and this is one I mentioned before, that the recipe came directly from the Bible. And it was a recipe that God had dictated that all holy people needed to use. And I'm not sure exactly why it was only granted for holy people, whether it was so that they could be smelled coming from a distance, or whether because they were around people who were always maybe sick and it was meant to protect them from that. I don't know. It certainly warrants a little bit more research, but the recipe here came directly from the Bible. This particular one was divinely inspired. Let me just put it that way. And I work with this every single day. So I mentioned essential oils earlier. I wanted to share this particular one with you. And if you're interested in knowing exactly where in the Bible it came from, simply post a comment, and I will post the Bible passage where I found it. I will also, because I mentioned crystals, a lot of people aren't aware that crystals are actually mentioned in the Bible. And if you're familiar with Aaron's chest breastplate, I think is what it's called, God himself in the Bible dictated to Aaron specific crystals that he was supposed to place on his breastplate, on his armor, right? And there are a few of those that I've been gradually collecting over the years. But the ones I'm going to be talking about today, they have specific properties relating to blocking electromagnetic frequency radiation. All right, so you ready for this part? A few of those, let me get back to my page with the crystals. Okay. Thanks for all these shortcuts to these interesting topics. Oh, you're absolutely welcome, Rosanna. But I do tell people just keep an open mind, because some of the things that I tried over the years, I never thought in my wildest dreams I would actually do. But then I realized that they actually helped me, you know? So that's why I said keep an open mind and do your research for yourself and see what happens, right? All right, so a couple of the crystals. There's black tourmaline, and you'll notice that a lot of the ones I mentioned are going to be black crystals, because the black ones are supposed to have more of a protection or protective benefit. And like I said, you can always do the research as well. This particular one, this is black tourmaline, and this is just one of the pieces that I keep by the television. It's small. The size is really not what matters. I think I also have a piece of black obsidian, but it sits right in front of the television and helps to kind of block some of, because my son, he's always, teenagers, they play their video games, right? Gotta have their video games. So because he spends so much time there, I make sure that I also have some crystals that are sitting in front of the television. So this one is black tourmaline. I usually wear a black tourmaline necklace as well. Another crystal is pyrite. You might know it as fool's gold. That's what it looks like. It does look like a piece of gold that you'd find, but it's called fool's gold or pyrite. And this particular, let me find, this particular crystal is said to absorb radiation, which is another reason why I have this. This is also supposed to be a great manifestation stone. So right now I'm just going to call it manifestation of health for everybody, right? But it's said to absorb radiation. So this is a piece of, let me make sure I get it there, of pyrite. Orgonite. I have a couple examples to show you. This is actually a necklace, and it has, if you notice, it has different colors of crystals in here, ranging from purple all the way down to red. And these are meant to represent what's called the chakras, or the energy centers in your body. And everybody has them, whether we want to believe it or not. We have a brain, that's an energy center. We have a heart, that's another energy center. We have the stomach, so all of these, the certain colors are meant to represent different energy centers throughout the body. They're called chakras. But you notice that there's also a spiral in there and that's a piece of copper. And copper is a great conductor of energy as well. But the combination is said to help to block out the effects of the electromagnetic frequencies. So this is a pendant that I would typically wear, and if I'm not wearing it, then it literally hangs by my bedside. Another example of the orgonite is a pyramid. Let me make sure I can show it here. So this is a slightly bigger one, and this has lots of different colored crystals in here as well. And you can again see the piece of copper. But experiments have been done which show how these particular orgon pyramids, or the pendants, how they actually help to block the EMF radiation. So if you want to just Google EMF radiation and orgonite, you'll be able to find a lot of videos that kind of demonstrate how these actually work. You may also want to demonstrate to Google EMF research and find that there is actually a lot of research that has been done on how EMF frequencies bother us. Spelled, it's OR Orgonite, orgonite. No, there is actually a stone called aragonite, but this is Orgonite. Okay, so you can do, but type in or Google EMF research and Google EMF research or EMF an orgonite. I'll type these words in afterwards so you can have the exact spelling of what you're supposed to be researching. So it's been shown that when you place one of these or one of the pendants in front of like a Wi-Fi box, a meter is usually used to measure the radiation that's coming off of it, and then when this is placed in between the meter and the box, it shows the drop in the radiation. So you may want to do a little bit more research into these. Okay, so there's that particular layer. What's orgonite is actually just a layered combination of different energies. So you have the crystals in there and you have the copper as well, the copper wire. All right, now another one which I don't have because it's actually sitting in my water bottle, because this particular one is also really good for purifying water, and that's called Shungite. And I will give you the spelling of these. It's Shungite. And Shungite, again, it is a black stone, and it's said to purify energy as well as purify water, and water is just another form of energy, right? So just look up, do your own research on these. Don't take my word for it. Another stone that might help to alleviate the electromagnetic frequencies, the radiation effects, is natural hematite. And natural hematite is said to block any kind of energetic attacks, the negative energetic attacks that might be coming to you. Again, would absorb the negative attacks, which basically is the radiation. All right, so you have natural hematite. And I said natural hematite because you can get the magnetized hematite, but the magnetized hematite, you want to be very careful placing them around your electronics, because with the magnet it will definitely destroy your electronic devices. All right, so you want to look for natural hematite. Amazonite or amazonite is simply Amazon with ITE. This is the one stone that is actually not black. It's a really pretty blue color, and I forgot to pull a piece out. I do have a few pieces of Amazonite, and this is said, hello Debbie, and Amazonite is said to absorb and transmute geomagnetic stress, which is the radiation that comes from all of your electronics. So it's said to absorb and transmute geomagnetic stress coming from your phone or your computer or your Wi-Fi, or when you're out and about coming from because you can carry some of these with you. If you get a small enough piece, I don't know if this is too much information, but sometimes I walk around with crystals stuck in my bra. A lot of us do that. Or you just simply walk around with a few pieces in your pocket, or just get yourself one of these pendants, wear it just as if it's a necklace, right? And those help. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I don't believe a lot of people are familiar with are Solfegio frequencies, and it's spelled SOLFEGGIO. And I listen to different frequencies. I play it during the night while I'm sleeping, and there are different frequencies ranging from 174 all the way up to, I believe the top one is 963, and they're for different things. They're for fixing your DNA, they're for pain relief, for if you're looking to enhance your third eye, for there's connection to your higher power. Lots of I'm encouraging you to do your research on this as well. So Solfegio frequencies, it's just another form of sound therapy. I also would play drums, because the drumming also helps to, how do you put this? I don't know if you've ever listened to shamanic drumming and just how it makes your body feel. It's very healing. So do the research on solfeggio frequencies, and you might also want to look into drumming, since I mentioned it anyway, and see if there are any kind of sound modalities that might work for you. I also mentioned in a previous video about using the my sound bowl, and these all help to heal you on a cellular level. You're being bombarded on a cellular level. That's where the healing needs to take place, right? Let's see if I'm missing anything. Nope. So I mentioned earthing, I mentioned your nature therapy, essential oils, and the crystals. And I will, if you're interested, post the passage from the Bible where Aaron's breastplate and the description of the crystals that were used basically for protection, where that's mentioned as well. Make sure I'm... Okay, this is the last point I want to make, and I mentioned the essential oils and plants, right? I know of people who have literally spent their lives running from one area to the next to try to get away from the electromagnetic frequency radiation and how it made them feel. There are people who are severely affected by this. Like I said, I'm not one of them, but there are people who have left one state to go to another state, and the movie that I'm going to post for you to watch, this particular girl is now living in the middle of the, I want to say, the Mojave Desert. So in Arizona. I'm hoping I get the desert correct, but that's the only place that she has found any kind of relief, was in a desert. I'm hoping that none of you are in that place where you're having those kind of effects, but I just wanted to express to you that this is something real. Don't let people tell you that what you're feeling is not real, that it's all in your head. And the funny thing is, with all of these towers that are going up, eventually there's going to be no place to run. So you're going to have to find ways of alleviating the symptoms. We're living on a planet where technology is advancing every single day, literally, right? So we're going to have to find ways of living with all of the technology around us, as well as alleviating the effects that it has on our body. So I'm hoping that the things that I shared in this video today, I'm hoping that those help. If you have any questions about them, please post them in the comment section. If there's something you want me to kind of expand on in another video, share that with me in the comment section as well. But please do your research on these. Don't take my word for it. Do your research into everything that I've mentioned, and come up with your own information. And I'm really hoping and praying that that does help you. All right, if you have any questions, like I said, please share them with me in the comment section, and I will get back to you either in the comments, or I will share them in a completely separate video. This is day 29 of Create with Gina. Day 28 has a lot more information on fibromyalgia. We discussed it yesterday as well. So I would encourage you to also go back and watch that video, and I'll post a link for that in the comment section below as well. All right. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope it was informative. I hope that you found some of it helpful. And I will see you again tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow for day 30. And like I mentioned this again yesterday, if there are certain topics that you'd like me to discuss, simply share them with me and I will do my very best. Rosanna says, so it helps against the effects of the towers. Great, I'm an encyclopedia. Well, I wouldn't say I'm an encyclopedia. I've learned a lot, and I can only share with you things that I've done research on myself and things that have helped me along the way. And yes, I will do as much research as is necessary to try and bring that to you as well. Okay, so as far as the towers, when you're out and about, what I do, like I said, with the crystals, just simply push a couple into your pockets. I can also post a link as to where I get my crystals from. There are a lot of places. Some places you may end up getting plastic, so I want to make sure that you actually get the real thing. And again, I do not have any kind of affiliate link to these places. These are just the ones that I have worked with over the years that I know I'm getting reputable products from. Okay? I also wondered if you'd consider showing us some yoga moves. I can. I actually do a lot of qigong. I do a little bit of yoga. I'm not the yoga expert. And I think I mentioned this yesterday as well. I do some the 5-minute energy routine by Donna Eden, and that is just basically helps to clean up your auric field. And thank you for mentioning that, because I don't think a lot of people realize that they do have your auric field actually goes out at least a foot all around you, so you connect with whatever radiation or whatever magnetic fields are out there, right? And it extends off of your body. So you do want to when you're traveling out and about, just push a couple of the crystals that I mentioned into your pocket, and part of it that comes with this is also believing. And I do believe that crystals were placed on this planet as another modality to help with our health. I really and truly believe that. I don't see why God created these beautiful things that were only meant to just sit in the middle of the earth for generations and generations without actually being worked with. And I know that because it's mentioned in the Bible that he actually dictated to one of his warriors on how to use them. And the same thing with plants. I mentioned a lot of plants. Every plant out there has a purpose, and I've studied a lot of them over the years. It's taken me, I think, 6 years to go from a regular herbalist into a master herbalist, and I still am learning every single day. I consider myself a lifelong learner. So whatever I learn, I try to bring to you. And I'm not saying it's something that you have to do. I'm just saying this is what I've learned that works for me, and it may or may not work for you. I would just encourage you to test things out, and you might find that plants work better for you. You may find that a combination of things work better for you, right? But thank you for mentioning that, Rosanna. Yoga moves, I will do my best. But like I said, Qigong, Tai Chi, karate, I can do some simple karate moves that will help to show you how to get your energy moving. Everyone should be moving, at least do a little bit of light exercise, at least 20 minutes a day, just to get your energy flowing through your body. Because energy is meant to flow. When it becomes stagnant, then that's when dis-ease and disease develop. Hope that makes sense. All right. So I will see you all again tomorrow, and if there are any questions, again, please post them in the comment section below, and I will either answer them there or in a separate live. It has been a pleasure being here with you, and again, I hope that you found this informative.